My husband thought I wouldn't notice when he took his secretary into the office conference room and locked the door. He didn't know I'd planted a hidden webcam in his briefcase, one that captured every filthy word, every lie. That night I streamed the footage to over 5 million people, live. 7 years of marriage and my husband forgot our anniversary. There was no card, no flowers, no dinner reservation. He didn't even glance at the calendar. All I got that morning was a distracted nod over black coffee and a muttered, "Don't wait up. I've got a meeting this afternoon." Then he left. The front door closed behind him with a soft click and I just stood there, hands around my mug, the rising steam brushing my chin. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't kiss my cheek. Not even a happy anniversary. It was just another day in the life of Mrs. Clara Hayes, CEO's wife. Invisible, predictable, silver. I should have cried. Or yelled. Or at least broken something. But instead I got dressed. Brushed my hair into a clean knot. Slipped on an old ivory sweater and a pair of slacks. Then I left the house with no destination in mind. By mid-afternoon, I was wandering through the glass-paneled heart of downtown. The sidewalks gleamed like they'd been polished. The air smelled of fresh blossoms, perfume, and the money people liked to pretend didn't matter. Somehow my feet led me to the luxury jewelry district. The glint of Everglow Jewelry's glass storefront pulled me toward it like a magnet. A diamond necklace floated on black velvet inside the central display. It sparkled like a shard of ice under the sunlight. I moved closer, intending only to glance. But then, I froze. Inside the boutique, in full view through the gleaming glass, stood Nathan. My husband. He looked sharp. Tailored charcoal suit, silk tie slightly loosened like he'd just wrapped up a big pitch. His side profile was achingly familiar. I had once loved tracing that jawline with my fingertips. Now my fingers curled into fists at my sides. Beside him stood a young woman. She couldn't have been more than 25. Sleek red dress, long wavy hair, towering heels. Her hand was curled around Nathan's elbow. She leaned into him with the practiced grace of someone who knew her place, and was proud of it. Aubrey Quinn. His secretary. I'd seen her before. Sweet, overly polite. A little too careful around me at company dinners. A little too enthusiastic to stay late at the office. I should have known. Aubrey held a massive diamond ring up to the light, beaming. The stone glittered like a galaxy caught in a prism. Nathan laughed, easy and indulgent, and said something I couldn't hear. But I saw it. I saw him mouth the words. "My wife only wears silver." Something inside me went still. No rage. No panic. Just stillness. Heavy and absolute, like the moment before an earthquake. I glanced down at my left hand. The silver ring on my finger had dulled over time, no longer cold, no longer warm, just a band of tired metal. Faded. Familiar. Lifeless. Just like us. I stood there for a long moment. Watching. Moving. Letting the reality of it sink in. Not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. This wasn't the beginning of the betrayal. It was merely the part where the curtain fell. I didn't enter the store. I didn't storm in and slap her. I didn't throw the ring. I didn't even let Nathan see me. I turned and walked away. My heels clicked softly on the sidewalk as I moved down the block, blending back into the crowd. I could still smell the boutique's perfume on the wind. Expensive, artificial, cloying. It lingered at the edge of my senses like a taunt. My face was calm. Too calm. But my thoughts. They had turned surgical. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to ask why. I just needed to plan. There was a kind of power in that silence, in walking away without making a scene. He thought I was silver. He had no idea how sharp silver could be when you shaped it into a blade. By the time I reached my car, I had already listed the first 5 things I needed to do. And by the time I pulled out of the garage, I was no longer just the woman he cheated on. I was the woman who was going to ruin him. It took me 2 days to set it all in motion. No crying. No screaming. Just quiet planning and a single click that would ruin him. Nathan was nothing if not predictable. He carried the same briefcase every day. Always set it down on the left side of the conference table. He never noticed small things, like a new scent in my shampoo or a difference in how I folded the laundry. So he certainly wouldn't notice a webcam the size of a USB drive sewn into the lining of his leather bag. Especially not when it looked just like a key fob. The morning I slipped it in, he was half-dressed and ranting into his Bluetooth headset about some investor delays. He didn't even notice me walk into the room, or how long I lingered at the coat rack where he kept his things. By the time he left, the camera was live. From my phone I had full access. One button and I could see everything. His walk into the building. The marble-floored lobby of his office tower. His secretary, Aubrey, greeting him in a low-cut blouse. They didn't waste time. By 3:40 p.m. the camera had a direct view of the conference room, those tall glass walls he loved so much. He'd always called it the heart of the empire. I watched them on the screen as if I were watching a film I'd already memorized. He locked the conference door. Aubrey giggled. He pushed her onto the table. What followed was obscene, not just the act itself but the way he spoke. She's too tame. Always in my shadow. You're the one I should have married. His hands were all over her. Her laugh was syrupy and smug. It was the kind of betrayal that didn't even bother hiding itself anymore. Because he didn't think I was watching. But I was. At 7:55 p.m. I stepped into my livestream studio. Soft light, fresh makeup, sleek black silk blouse. My skin was flawless, lips calm and expression unreadable. At 8 o'clock sharp I went live. The audience flooded in. She's glowing tonight. Queen Clara fire. What's the feature piece today? Goddess energy. OMG, it's packed tonight. I welcomed them with my usual smile. Held up a velvet box. Then closed it again. And said, tonight I'm not selling anything. The chat froze for one long second. Then I tapped my screen. And everything changed. The stream cut to Nathan's office feed. No distortion. No buffering. Just him, half undressed, pressed up against Aubrey Quinn in the middle of his company's conference room. On the same table where investor contracts had once been signed. Her red lipstick was smeared across his collarbone. Her skirt was bunched around her hips. His voice slithered out of the speakers. She's nothing compared to you. I'm done pretending at home. I'll give you everything. The audience lost it. Is that Nathan Reed? That's the secretary. Oh my God, she's live streaming him? She said nothing. Just pressed play. He's terrifying. I love it. Bro, this is being broadcast to millions. This is the most graceful public execution I've ever seen. CO? More like caught exposed online. I'm buying everything Clara ever sells again. My inbox exploded. 10 missed calls from shareholders. 6 from board members. A private number I recognized from Reed Holdings' general counsel. Another from Forbes. I didn't answer any of them. I let the video roll exactly 1 minute and 26 seconds. Then I tapped the screen again, cutting the footage and returning to my face. I looked into the camera, perfectly still, and said, when your husband disrespects you behind glass walls, let the glass reflect the truth. Nathan Reed is not just unfaithful. He is unfit to lead. Then I smiled. And ended the stream. That night, news outlets picked up the footage within minutes. Hashtags exploded. Nathan's name trended for all the wrong reasons. Hashtag Nathan Reed exposed. Hashtag corporate adultery. Hashtag conference room confessions. Hashtag silver no more. His company's stock dropped 9.7% overnight. The camera I planted? I mailed it anonymously to the company's legal department, labeled SEC Compliance Review. Let them sort out the mess. I didn't cry. I didn't gloat. I just made tea, turned off my phone, and slept soundly for the first time in years. Nathan thought I would stay quiet. He forgot who I was before I was Mrs. Reed. He forgot that silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it means you're recording. The moment I ended the stream, the world outside my window cracked open. Not literally. The villa remained still, serene, the glass walls bathed in warm ambient light. But something fundamental had shifted. The calm inside me wasn't peace. It was precision. I hadn't touched my tea. It sat cooling on the marble table next to my phone, which was vibrating non-stop. Unknown numbers. Some blocked. Some familiar. Some insistent enough to trigger the emergency override. I silenced them all. Outside, the neighborhood remained undisturbed. Lawns trimmed. Hedges manicured. The gated road winding like a secret. Until headlights cut through the darkness. The car came too fast. It skidded into view at an angle, tires screeching against brick. A black Bentley, Nathan's, lurched to a halt at the edge of my front gate. The engine hadn't even shut off before the door flung open and he stumbled out. Nathan. And he looked like hell. His perfect hair was a wind-tossed mess. His tailored suit wrinkled, one shoe untied. He nearly fell as he ran up to the iron gate and grabbed it with both hands, rattling the bars like a man possessed. "Clara," he shouted. "Clara, please. Open the door." His voice cracked mid-syllable. Bro. Choked. He dropped to his knees. I didn't move. I stood behind the floor-to-ceiling window in the foyer, lights low, back straight, arms at my side. He couldn't see me clearly through the reflection, only the vague shape of me watching. But I saw everything. He was begging now. "I was wrong," he cried, gripping the metal bars. I didn't know it would blow up like this." "Please, Claire. The banks are calling." Carter Lynn pulled out. "The board wants me gone. Just take the video down, please. Please. Just give me a chance to fix it." His voice turned hoarse, panicked. "You want a divorce? Fine. But take the stream down." He was unraveling in real time. I tilted my head slightly, watching his reflection in the window. The man who once walked red carpets now looked like a stray dog. Dust on his knees, desperation carved across his face. I said nothing. Instead, I picked up the phone resting beside my untouched tea. I tapped one contact. Miles Trent. My attorney. He answered on the second ring. "Clara. Come. Efficient. Ready. Is it time?" "Yes," I said softly. "Send everything." He didn't ask what everything meant. We'd prepared for this. All documents are signed and sealed. I'll dispatch same-day courier with the divorce agreement and liquidation filings immediately. Destination. I stared out the window at Nathan clawing at the gate like a man in agony. My lips curved. Unit 1802. Windendale Egret Apartments. West Side. Recipient, Aubrey Quinn. Miles paused only briefly. Then, understood. I hung up. Outside, Nathan's voice cracked again. "Please, Clara. For the sake of everything we've built." I placed the phone down gently. I didn't open the door. Inside, my villa was warm, golden, and quiet. The contrast to his chaos was almost poetic. The Persian rug beneath my heels muffled every step. The clean scent of lemon and cedar floated through the air, undisturbed. Nathan was still shouting outside. Begging. Pleading. He was probably wondering why security hadn't come to stop him yet. Simple. I told them not to interfere. Let him yell. Let the neighbors hear. Let him kneel. I passed the mirror at the end of the hallway. My reflection was calm. Hair pinned neatly. No trace of mascara smudges or trembling lips. Just a faint shadow of something colder. The version of me that had waited 7 years for this moment. I stopped in front of the window again. Nathan had slumped onto the ground. His hands trembled. His phone buzzed beside him. He didn't even notice. His forehead pressed against the metal. Just tell me what you want," he whispered. "I'll do anything." I watched him shake. And I let silence answer. Somewhere between his last plea and his next gasp for air, the gate lights flickered. A security drone hovered, confirming an express courier delivery on its way. Miles had moved fast. Nathan's phone rang again, loud enough to echo. He fumbled to answer. "Hello, yes. Wait, what?" He shot to his feet, stumbling backward like someone had punched him. "No, she can't. She doesn't have authority. What do you mean liquidation?" I smiled faintly. He did sign everything. Back when he was still arrogant enough to think I wouldn't use it. I'd waited. Gathered. All of it had led to now. Nathan shouted into the phone, his free hand tugging at his hair. "She's bluffing. There's no way she'd send it to Aubrey, she wouldn't." He stopped. His body went still. Then his mouth dropped open slightly like the truth had just hit him like a truck. He looked up, toward my window, but didn't see me. Inside, I walked calmly back toward my desk. I didn't bother to open the door. He wasn't worth the draft. The apartment still smelled like champagne and strawberries. Half-empty flutes sat on the glass coffee table, abandoned in the rush of excitement. A pink satin ribbon from a boutique box trailed off the edge of the counter. And a single slice of red velvet cake, the one Nathan had picked up from her favorite patisserie, lay forgotten beside a forkful she never finished. Aubrey stood in front of the full-length mirror in Nathan's penthouse apartment, barefoot, wrapped in a silken robe. The pale fabric clung to her curves as she twisted her hand under the ceiling light, watching the rings sparkle. A flawless cushion-cut diamond. At least 2 carats. Set in platinum. Caught the light like fire. "Mrs. Reed," she whispered to herself, lips curving. She mouthed it again. And again. "Mrs. Reed." The live stream was everywhere, but it hadn't touched her yet. Nathan had told her to stay calm, that Clara was just putting on a show. That his team would handle the investors. That it didn't mean anything. "The company's mine," he had reassured her on the phone earlier. "She doesn't know how anything works. He just has a fan base. That's all." He said Clara was all smoke, no fire. He said she was desperate. He said Aubrey had won. The doorbell rang. Aubrey paused, head tilting. She wasn't expecting anyone. Probably another delivery from Nathan. Maybe roses this time. Or a handwritten apology note. Or, better, a deed to the cottage he mentioned in Aspen. Something to make the ring feel official. She padded toward the door, brushing her hair behind her ears. "Who is it?" "Express delivery for Miss Aubrey Quinn," came the voice through the intercom. "Signature required. Same-day courier." Her eyes lit up. Another surprise. She unlatched the door and there stood a tired young courier in a blue windbreaker, holding a thin, sealed envelope and a tablet. "Please sign here, ma'am." Aubrey signed with a flourish. "Cash on delivery. 899 Indian rupees," the courier added as if it were routine. She blinked. "Cash." He nodded. "Required for COD deliveries under anonymous sender." She scoffed but pulled out her phone and paid without a second thought. Probably Nathan trying to be cute. He was dramatic like that. "Thanks," she said sweetly and shut the door. She carried the envelope back into the living room, flipping it over. No sender name. No note. That felt odd. The material was heavy. Expensive. Her brow furrowed as she slit the seal with one nail and slid the contents into her hand. 2 documents. No frills. No glitter. Just black ink on stark white paper. The first page read, "Divorce agreement. Between Party A, Clara Hayes, and Party B, Nathan Reed." Her eyes snapped wide. She read faster now. Skimming. Clause 2. Division of assets. Party A, Clara Hayes, is entitled to 90% of all marital assets, including but not limited to the Red Pines Villa, the Acton Hill apartment, all shared bank deposits, domestic and international investment portfolios, shares in Reed Holdings, Reed Capital and Reed Lifestyle Group. Party B, Nathan Reed, retains 10% of assets and assumes 100% liability for outstanding corporate debt. Her pulse roared in her ears. This wasn't a draft. It was stamped. Signed. Dated today. The ink still looked fresh. Her fingers trembled as she flipped to the second document. This one was thicker. Heavier. The first line punched her straight in the chest. Bankruptcy and liquidation order. Court certified. Defendant, Mr. Nathan Reed. This document serves to confirm that, due to excessive debt, withdrawal of investor capital and breach of fiduciary responsibilities, the following companies are to enter immediate liquidation. Reed Holdings, Reed Capital, Reed Lifestyle Group, frozen accounts, debt recall, investor lawsuits pending. Aubrey dropped the paper. She clutched the side of the table for balance. Her mouth opened, no words came. This had to be a joke. She fumbled for her phone, dialed Nathan. He picked up instantly. "Aubrey." His voice was ragged, out of breath. "Please tell me it hasn't arrived yet." "What is this?" she hissed. "What the hell did she send me?" Pause. Then reluctantly, "It's real." Silence. "She sent it to me?" "I didn't know she would." He sounded close to tears. "I didn't think she'd go this far. The investors are gone. The board removed me 2 hours ago. My accounts are frozen. Aubrey, listen to me, I need." "You told me she didn't matter," she screeched. "You told me she was a silver ring nobody." "I know what I said, but she planned this. You gave me a ring and a bankrupt surname?" Her voice cracked. "What am I supposed to do with this?" She stared down at the sparkling diamond on her finger. Just hours ago it had felt like victory. Now it was a brand. Why? You said you owned everything. Nathan's voice broke. I need money, Aubrey. Just until I can. She hung up. The room spun. Aubrey fell back onto the velvet couch, documents spilling around her like ash. The apartment was too quiet now. The lights too bright. The air too warm. She tried to take off the ring, but it wouldn't budge. It was stuck, swollen around her knuckle. She yanked harder. Her skin reddened. Her breathing grew shallow. You lying bastard, she whispered. She sent it to me. And that was when it hit her. Claire had planned this. Not to destroy just Nathan, but to humiliate her. To remind her that she had never been the new Mrs. Reed. She had just been the mailing address. Aubrey Quinn. The ring wouldn't come off. Aubrey's knuckles were red now, raw from her fifth attempt to wrench the diamond band off her finger. It was beautiful, flawless, sparkling, but it felt like a handcuff. She tugged harder. Come on, she whispered through clenched teeth, twisting it with sweaty, shaking fingers. Come on. Refused to move. Her hand throbbed. Her heart raced. Everything she owned, her designer handbags, her red-bottom heels, her limited-edition perfume bottles, blurred into a meaningless collage of nothing. The sparkling ring that had dazzled her only hours ago now pulsed like a cursed relic. The diamond scraped her skin. She gasped. She stumbled backward, knocking into the edge of the glass coffee table. The unopened champagne bottle toppled, rolling across the floor with a dull thud. Her phone buzzed again. Nathan. She answered. Big mistake. Bianca, please just listen. Aubrey, she shrieked, tears bursting forward. My name is Aubrey. I need you to transfer something, just enough to cover the... You bastard, she screamed. You gave me a ring, then sent your wife 90% of your empire? And now you're calling me for help. You don't understand, Clara's ruined everything. My assets are frozen. The board's dumping me. I'm completely... good. She stared at the torn-up documents littering the floor. Legal death sentences for Nathan Reed. Maybe you deserve to be ruined, she spat. His voice turned desperate. Aubrey, I loved you. You loved power. You loved control. You loved how young I looked beside you. Her voice shattered. And now I'm holding the ashes of your life. That's all you gave me. She didn't wait for his response. She threw the phone. It smashed against the tiles in a spray of glass and plastic. The screen cracked instantly, ending his voice with a sharp, cruel silence. She collapsed onto her knees. The silence was unbearable. The documents lay in tatters on the rug. She reached for one thick ivory paper with the quartz crimson seal still glaring through the tear. Her hand shook as she gripped it and began ripping again with wild, frantic force. Rip, rip, rip. Her fingernails snapped. The paper resisted, then shredded unevenly. The seal tore down the middle like a wound. Words blurred through tears. Bankruptcy. Reed Holdings. Full liquidation. The apartment was still perfect. Pristine. Elegant. But she was a ruin. Surrounded by luxury. Draped in silk. A six-figure ring stuck to her hand. Tears streaking mascara down her cheeks. And nothing left but silence. Clara Hayes. My fireplace crackled softly, casting golden light over the cream tiles of the living room. I sat on the edge of the chaise, legs folded beneath a velvet throw, holding a tiny silver ring in my palm. It was light. So light I barely felt it anymore. I rolled it between my fingers, studying it under the glow. The engraving was almost invisible now. The band was dulled, the edges smooth from time and neglect. 7 years. More than 2,500 days. And somehow we had still ended up strangers. I stood slowly. Walked over to the fire. Held the ring out over the flames. And let go. The silver band fell silently, swallowed by the coals. No grand farewell. No speeches. Just the quiet finality of release. I watched until the metal lost shape, curling, softening, disappearing into the glow. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just breathed. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel like I was suffocating in my own skin. Felt like I was done. Not with anger. Not with heartbreak. Just done carrying the weight of someone else's neglect. Outside, the city skyline pulsed with distant traffic. My phone lit up one more time. A missed call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. I pulled the curtain closed. And left the past behind the glass. Nathan Reed. Nathan Reed hadn't slept in 2 days. His penthouse was trashed. The television was on mute, but the flashing red banners across every news channel were impossible to ignore. Reed Holdings plummets after CEO sex scandal livestream. Hashtag Silverwife hits 30M views. Public demands resignation. Top investors confirm immediate withdrawal. Luxury lifestyle crumbles. Nathan Reed removed as CEO. Every headline, every angle, dissecting his downfall with surgical glee. He tried to stop it. Tried to spin it. He called PR, he called Carter Lynn, he even begged his own lawyer to fix it. But by the time he realized what Clara had done, the internet had already burned him alive. His phone had been on fire for the first 12 hours. Then it went eerily quiet. No one was answering anymore. The board met without him. He hadn't even been invited. A statement was released by Reed Holdings' legal team that same afternoon. Effective immediately, Mr. Nathan Reed has been removed from all leadership positions. Internal investigation ongoing. Corporate assets frozen pending litigation. He stood in his own living room, shirt half buttoned, staring at the diamond ring box still open on the floor. Look stupid now. Just a rock in a box. His accounts were frozen. His reputation obliterated. Half the internet had watched him pull Aubrey onto that conference table, and the other half was remixing it into TikToks. His face. His voice. She only wears silver. It haunted him like a gunshot. He tried calling Claire again. Blocked. He sent her an email. No reply. He tried using a different number. Blocked again. Clara had vanished from his reach. But she hadn't vanished from the world. Oh no. He was everywhere. Fashion blogs called her the queen of quiet revenge. Feminist articles hailed her as a symbol of grace under betrayal. Investors, the same men who used to congratulate Nathan on his beautiful trophy wife, now reached out to her. As it turned out, Clara had been quietly listed as a co-founder on several of his early ventures. She'd retained silent shares in 2 of the companies. She wasn't just the betrayed wife. She was the power behind the curtain. Nathan hadn't even known. He thought she was decoration. A passive, smiling partner. He never realized she was watching the whole time. Burning. Filing. Planning. He paced the room like a man caged. Aubrey was gone. Left the apartment without a word. She'd taken the ring off eventually, tossed it in the sink. Everything was unraveling. He pulled open his laptop, desperate. Opened a browser. Searched. Can bankruptcy be reversed if live stream was unauthorized? Can wife sue for defamation if husband has no money? Can you disappear with debt? Nothing helped. Nothing stopped the truth. He sat down on the floor beside the window, burying his face in his hands. And in that moment, Nathan Reed, once featured in Forbes, once photographed at galas, once toasted with billionaires, finally realized he had not lost a wife. He had lost his reputation, his empire. And the one person who could have helped him had already signed the divorce papers and sent them to his mistress, Clara Hayes. I sat on the chaise by the balcony, sipping a cup of jasmine tea. No live streams. No interviews. No quotes. Just silence. The world was talking, but I didn't need to. Nathan's story was writing itself now. There was nothing I needed to add. The footage had done the work. The shareholders did the rest. I didn't post a single thing. And still I was everywhere. He tried to call. 3 times today alone. He even emailed an apology. Said he didn't mean it, said Aubrey was just a mistake, said he was confused and pressured, and acted out. I didn't reply. I simply forwarded it to my lawyer for documentation. The sky outside was soft with evening light. In the distance, the Reed Holdings logo was being removed from a building. A new name was going up. Something clean, modern, unfamiliar. Good. Let it all disappear. Let it be unrecognizable even to him. The villa felt different now. Not emptier, freer. The rooms no longer echoed with silence. They hummed softly with purpose. The spaces I once walked like a ghost were now warm, lit, alive. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for anyone to come home. As I was already home. The last paperwork came in the previous week. A thick cream envelope from Miles Trent's office, stamped and notarized. Finalized divorce. Filed and executed. Reed Holdings /capital/lifestyle. Dissolved and liquidated. My signature sat there in careful strokes. Neat. Firm. Nathan's was messy. Desperate. There was a kind of poetry in that. Me signing in clarity, him signing in collapse. I tucked the papers into a sleek black folder and filed them in the bottom drawer of my safe. Not out of sentiment. Just closure. That morning I lit incense in the living room. Jasmine and sandalwood. I let the windows stay open. The spring air danced through the curtains like music. Outside the world moved fast, but inside, everything was unhurried. That's what freedom sounded like. There were no more calls from journalists. No more DM requests. No more boardroom whispers. I had made exactly one public post since the live stream. That chapter is closed. That was all. No interviews. No exposés. No podcast drama. And yet, my inbox had flooded with brand offers. Licensing. Collaborations. Streaming platforms wanted my story rights. I declined everyone. Because I wasn't interested in monetizing my pain. I was interested in building something new. 2 months later, Lina Studio opened its doors. Minimalist design. Curated luxury. Pieces made from pearls, dark quartz, brushed gold. Nothing loud, only refined elegance. No silver. Never again. The boutique sat tucked between an independent bookstore and a ceramic gallery in the East District. I kept it small on purpose. Clean. Honest. The first live stream for Lina Studio went live on a quiet Thursday evening. No announcement. Just me. A soft linen blouse. Single camera. And a necklace. One I had designed myself months ago in the solitude of heartbreak. Within the first 20 minutes, the viewer count hit 1.6 million. I didn't talk about Nathan. I didn't need to. My presence was proof that I'd already won. Somewhere across the city I imagined him watching. Maybe in a rented apartment. Maybe a hotel lobby, his phone screen smudged with fingerprints and regret. He'd see me. Still here. Stronger. Unbothered. Not because I'd buried him in court, but because I'd never let his dust settle on my future. A customer entered the boutique that afternoon. A young woman with nervous eyes and a broken necklace clasped in her hands. She asked if we could fix it. I took it from her gently and smiled. We don't just fix. We restore. She looked relieved. She left with a repaired chain and a little more confidence than she came in with. As she walked out, I noticed something. She wore a silver band on her finger. It glinted in the light. And for the first time in months I felt nothing. Not sadness. Not anger. Not grief. Just distance. Later that night I sat on the back patio of the boutique under soft hanging lights. My tea had gone cold, but I didn't care. The silver ring was gone. The noise was gone. Only the quiet remained, and in it I had found myself again. 6 months later the city had bloomed again. The first spring rain had come and gone, rinsing the streets until they glowed under lamplight. Boutique windows were filled with soft pastels and champagne fabrics. Cherry blossoms drifted along sidewalks like confetti from a quiet celebration. And I walked through it all, not hiding, not hurrying, just present. The heels of my shoes tapped lightly on the polished pavement. I wore a sand-colored midi dress that hugged my waist like it was made for me. My hair flowed loose around my shoulders. My coat was cream wool, draped elegantly, no longer chosen to impress anyone else. Everything about me was soft, clean, clear. Not loud, but unmistakably whole. I hadn't meant to walk this way. It wasn't planned. But somehow, as the sun shifted behind the glass towers, I found myself in the very plaza I hadn't stepped foot in since that day. The day I had stood outside Everglow Jewelry and watched my husband pick out a ring for another woman. The store hadn't changed. The glass shimmered. The display rotated slowly behind temperature-controlled crystal. Diamonds, rubies, emeralds, each arranged like museum artifacts. I paused. Just for a second. Not because I needed to, but because I could. There was a new associate inside. A young man in his 20s, immaculately groomed, dressed in a dark suit and tie. He caught sight of me through the glass, then stepped out with professional ease. He greeted me politely, clearly unsure if I was someone famous or just someone expensive. "Looking for silver?" he asked, voice smooth. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't sarcastic. He didn't know the history. But the words still settled in the air like a trigger I didn't expect. "Looking for silver?" I turned to him slowly. And then I smiled. Not the tight-lipped kind I used to wear beside Nathan at investor dinners. No, this smile was real. Relaxed. Radiant. No, I said, voice calm, even warm. I only wear diamonds now. I didn't wait for his reply. I kept walking. Behind me, the display lights glinted off a necklace I'd once tried on but never bought. It had felt too much back then. Too bold. Now it felt like a memory from another life. And it didn't sting anymore. Later that evening, back at the Lina Studio flagship, I stood behind the counter with a cup of lavender tea. A customer asked to see the new gemstone earrings. I handed them over carefully, emeralds set in soft gold, no silver in sight, and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror across the boutique. I looked free. Not because Nathan had fallen. Not because Aubrey had vanished from the headlines. But because I had chosen to rebuild. Quietly. Elegantly. Unapologetically. I still wore a ring, just not on my left hand. A delicate, radiant cut diamond band rested on my middle finger. Not from a man. Not from a marriage. It was the first piece I had ever designed for myself. Outside, the world buzzed with new beginnings. And inside, I breathed in light, surrounded by the life I had carved from ash. The end.